Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. This is a special Board of Finance meeting. And the sole purpose of the meeting is to come up with our recommendations that we're going to present at the preliminary budget hearing on April 21st, which is a Monday night. The Board of Selectmen, if you review the budget that we originally looked at, the Board of Selectmen have made cuts to that budget, and we have to now look at it and decide what we would like to do. Of course, this is not the final time we get a chance at this. After the April
And actually,
21st.
you also have a meeting on March 20th,
Okay, so we can,
which you can also have another shot before the
Okay.
actual hearing.
okay. So, if I could suggest, why don't we start with, because the area of, with the most increase, the largest increase, and the area that we can probably agree or disagree on are the capital, the 6-year capital plan, this year's, which is the back of the book. So if we could go, let's start with that. All right. Okay, and the first one is the Board of Education. And as you can see, the Board of Selectmen have, they've removed grounds and landscaping and kitchen and cafeteria equipment. I guess the bold items are
The bold items
part of
are
operating budget.
The operating budget, right.
Okay.
The, if it's not bolded, then there's another funding source. If the 3 indicates bond funds, the 2 would indicate grants. So the other thing that was done in this department was that the asphalt and concrete replacement was changed from operating budget to grant. So we plan on applying for a grant for that.
Okay. Well, I was going to undertake a discussion about technology, because I think we definitely need to reduce this budget. It's at 3.84. I'd really like to see us get it under 3. I was supposed to meet, Ellen, Tony, we were supposed to meet with Dr. Stella last Wednesday, and unfortunately there was a mix-up.
Right, there was a mix-up,
And
yes.
Tony, Ellen, and I were there, but nobody else showed up, so we never got to meet. So I'm going to try, Dr. Stella has some ideas he wants to go over, so again, if I could, I'd like to ask this group to allow me to meet with him, and then we can talk about it on the 20th.
So I think I shared with you at our last Board of Finance meeting that they are anticipating that they will have remaining funds.
Right,
And the question is what those go towards.
right.
So,
Which is, I think, part of what I have to talk to him about.
Yep.
Because, and I also think, it's a question I have for him, is if they have excess funds of 150 or roughly,
right,
can that possibly lead to them adjusting their budget for 14-15? In other words, if something is coming, in other words, if they base the 14-15 budget on their figures and their figures are coming in short, can they lower their operating budget to
Right.
incorporate these overages, so, or shortages, whatever you want to call it? So the Board of Ed will talk about it on the 20th, okay? Board of Selectmen, there's nothing. Building maintenance, modify, I'm just going to read these off, and if anybody has any feelings on them. I don't see anything in the building maintenance that doesn't seem valid. We should get rid of those tanks as soon as possible. And Darling House, we've agreed on, and they're doing a lot of other work with revenue, so I think I'd leave that alone too. Okay. The country club, there's nothing. Well, there is
On the country club,
63,000.
we essentially zeroed out the request for 15. But the discussion at the time was to keep the others in there just so there's a record of
The
what was
request.
discussed, even though those would not necessarily be our responsibility.
Okay. Right, so there's nothing under Board of Selectmen recommendation. For EMS, this Lucas 2 compression system, there's something they were gonna
That was
try and.
removed, that was removed from the capital plan and put in contingency.
Okay.
So you can revisit that discussion once you revisit your contingency.
And at our meeting, the EMS board did, vote to remove that request from this year's budget. They're
Right.
still discussing
They're
it.
still discussing it, which is why the selectmen, kept it in contingency but removed it from the budget.
So that's why it went up by 15,000.
What's that?
That,
That's why
the
contingency
contingency
went
went
up.
up. by
Correct.
15. Okay, I didn't
Absolutely, yeah.
understand why. Can I ask a question about the filling of the tanks?
Sure.
Fuel tanks?
Mhm.
So did we actually get a quote for that yet, or is this just an estimate?
For the underground heating fuel tank
Yep.
abandonment,
Mhm.
those are estimates.
Those are estimates.
Yeah. A lot of work is gonna be done by our staff too.
Okay, so
That's
it's
just for the
possible that
work.
would go down.
There it is, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
But those tanks are gonna be, they intend to fill them, they don't
Right.
intend to remove them.
Correct, right.
And our guys are capable of handling it.
Yeah, our guys will
Right.
help with the equipment and that's just in case there's testing, there's, other
Right.
rental of equipment and stuff. That's basically what that's for.
okay, so chances are that could be lowered, that number, it won't be $20,000.
It's possible. There are several tanks, so I'm not
Okay.
sure at this point.
Okay.
Okay, Fire Commission, again, I've again and again felt that, and please, I'm gonna just express my opinion, if anybody wants to jump in. The ladder truck, I think a lot more has to be discussed with that. There's a lot of feeling that it's really, every request in here has valid points, but the question is, what can we afford? The ladder truck, I believe, it would be a wonderful thing to have, but I don't think at this point I'm in favor of funding $100,000 for that. I think a whole study needs to be done on that. We need to, I think we've said this again and again, we need to see records of how often the ladder truck was essential, was needed. Mutual aid will provide a ladder truck for us, and I just don't think at this point it's the $100,000 that I'd like to see removed. Anybody?
I thought we had discussed that.
Yeah.
We discussed last year
Right.
that if the decision was finally made to fund a ladder truck, we would fund it.
Right.
I mean, whether you accrue for it or not accrue for it is not
Right.
the issue.
I agree.
So I don't know if,
Mm-hmm.
no. And I don't wanna get a lecture on good accounting practices, but the question here is, whether or not we do it or don't do it, at that point in time, we can fund it, and we
Right.
will fund it.
Right. We'll do what we have to do.
We'll do what we have to do, so,
But
I agree with you.
Needs a lot more discussion.
I agree with you that I don't think it's really necessary.
Is anyone opposed to removing that?
No.
Okay.
I was just wondering why there was the department request was 200,000 and the Board of Selectmen reduced it to 100,000. I was just wondering why, what that discussion might have been.
I could tell you at the time, we were sort of in the process of getting information on engine 7. That's the engine that was discussed.
Yep.
And so, what the selectmen did was split the $200,000 and put $100,000 of it into engine 7, which was not requested by the department. The reason for that would be that, and that again, that is in process, that's a sort of a decision that you have to make in terms of how to structure that going forward, whether you want to, the approximate timetable on engine 7 would be once we receive the specifications to go out to bid, there's a month there, then it's
Right.
month to 2 months, depending on how long that takes to get the results. And then it takes about a year to build the truck, and then you could lease it at that point.
But we're talking about
the end of
we're
next
talking
year.
about the new pumper truck.
Correct,
Right.
new
That's
pumper
what
truck.
And okay, fine, and that's
So
gotta get
that's,
done, we need to.
so that's gotta get done, so the question is the $100,000 where, whether you put it in this year's or.
Yeah, are we gonna have it? I mean, are they gonna have this thing ready by next?
It should be ready by next, the other thing we did last time was we purchased the cab, before, it saved some money on the financing. So it all depends on how, when it's complete and how much the bids come in. There's a lot of moving parts that are unknown. So can you save it until the year after and do a lease in arrears? You could. I mean, that's an option, you pay more in interest, but.
Well, I
that's
think
an option.
we've basically, the select board of finance have said, we're committed to this
That
vehicle.
has to be done.
Right.
They-
But, you know, do we have to have 100,000 ready for, if we don't even know it's gonna be done in the next fiscal year? What's your feeling, Tom?
I would say that, I'd like more information and maybe I can report back to you
All right,
on the 20th.
okay.
I mean, I had in my notes that they actually said they made an error and they needed the money starting in fiscal year 15. It should go for the full, 6 years.
For
So even-
engine 7.
Mhm,
Right,
for
that's
engine
right.
7. And that, it was related also to being able to go out to bid if we hadn't committed funds. I mean, obviously we can bid without
You
that,
could,
but
and
we
you could
can't.
also award a contract if you have it in the budget in terms of, if it depends on when you do the lease
Right, right.
and when the lease payments are due. But then you'd
Okay.
have a non-appropriations clause in the lease which says that if it doesn't get appropriated in the budget process, then you're allowed to break the
Pull
lease,
out. Okay,
return the
Okay.
truck.
Okay.
So it's
Thank
just
you.
all depends
All
on
right, so
when
why
you
don't
want
you,
it.
yes.
I'll get back to you
Get
on
some
that.
timing on
okay.
that.
Yeah,
Again, we're not saying no, we're just saying,
absolutely.
why tax $100,000 if it's not gonna be ready to be used, spent?
Okay.
Assistant chief replacement vehicle, what is that? We haven't talked about it.
Let's see.
We just bought a new vehicle for the chief.
Right.
I'd like to think that perhaps the association might be able to take in part of that.
Okay.
I know they have money, and I think the people in the town who donate to the fire association expect them to use it for. I'd like to say, why don't we make that 25?
Okay.
Let's tell the fire association, we'd like to see them. They paid for part of the chief's vehicle, so.
Okay.
So let's lower that to 25. And fire hose replacement, I think that's a no-brainer. Okay, general administration, the recording system for the main reading room, that's an absolute. Okay.
Please.
Library, we have nothing. Human services, I think we've clearly made a case for this. for the
Excuse me,
game.
Matt,
Yeah,
did you eliminate the 100,000 for the ladder truck?
yes.
Okay.
And we lowered the assistant chief vehicle to 25.
Okay.
You know, does the assistant chief take that vehicle home with him?
I
and
don't
travel?
know for sure.
Okay, human services, library, parks, I think we've heard the pitch for that. Police, radio upgrade, again, is that, we're not confused.
We're looking now, I got a little background on that, I was just making a note on that
Okay.
assistant chief's vehicle. On the police department, the original request is for 150 in the first year and 35 in the second year, 76 in the third year. The chief, the police actually received a grant of equipment for the radio system, which essentially replaces a lot of equipment, same old technology, I mean older technology I should say, but it's new equipment.
Okay.
Essentially allowing the radio to be operational for several more years without having to worry about equipment failures.
All right.
That also may have an impact on this request, but he's waiting for some more additional information to come in. I hope to have that for your next meeting.
So it's brand new equipment, but it's not up,
It's not new
State-of-the-art.
technology. It'd be like getting a new computer that's 5 years old.
but it's brand new and it's gonna work and we don't have to worry about
So
breaking
you don't have
it.
to worry about stuff breaking.
And there's
or-
parts available for it.
Right, there's parts available, that sort of thing, right?
Okay. All right, so you're gonna.
I'll have that.
More on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Pool and gym, I don't think there's any issues with those. Public works. I think they.
I have a possible issue, and this is the type of thing that you should be aware of. Two things. First of all, we removed the tree maintenance program and put it in the operating budget
Okay,
because it's for tree maintenance as opposed to a capital piece of equipment.
okay.
The bridge and waterways reserve is at 20. We're currently in the middle of that process, and as that process goes along, we have, there's contingencies. We pay 20%, the state pays 80%. So we're still sort of working on some of that final budget information, and maybe a change there in terms of how much.
The Merritt Avenue Bridge?
Merritt Avenue Bridge, yeah. I'll maybe a slight increase there that we either have to be aware of and plan for, or put it in the budget.
Okay.
So that's another thing I'm hoping to have for your next meeting.
Any other, I mean, road construction reserve, I think we all agree that
Yeah.
we need to keep after our roads. And it's, as you drive around to some of these other towns, you realize how blessed we are to have money to, and it's an investment in the infrastructure that you have to do. Because when they get away from you, they're beyond repair. So I think they do a marvelous job on that, so. Okay.
So with the truck replacement though, again, this is spread out unevenly
Right.
over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if we can maybe reduce this and just put more into fiscal year 16?
Well, I think actually he plans on, we do have some older equipment, and I think this is a planned purchase for next year.
Okay.
But then after the following year, you'll see the big purchases in 2 years after.
Do we have any money in the reserve, Tony, before?
No, not much.
Not much?
No,
Okay.
$3,000, I think.
Recreation, I will say that I, again, all these requests have merit, but I think we can do without an ice skating rink. Again, it's a wonderful thought. I just wonder how many people use it and how, it's a very short window for it to be used. Again, in a perfect world, fine, but I think it's $35,000 we don't necessarily have to spend. My opinion, anybody else have a feeling on that?
Well, as an ex-hockey player, I take umbrage to that. And,
Problem is you can't play hockey on that thing.
you know,
Just
Yes,
for a
you
little,
do. They allow them to pay.
little
Sometimes
pirouette,
they-
so.
but, yeah.
Anybody have anything opposed to removing that? No? And one other thing we need to remove, Tony, is that,
Yeah,
okay? You don't
yeah,
have to say
Thank
anymore?
you.
nope.
Okay.
Crossing it right.
Okay, Sandy?
here.
Yes, thank you.
Take it right off the page.
All right.
Okay.
What is that, the hockey rink? You're
No,
taking
the
the
90-foot
90-foot diamond.
The 90-foot diamond?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's out a few years.
Yeah.
Out of there.
Oh, it's stuck back in again.
And then waste management, I think we're good with that. Okay, so that's
So engine 7, police radios, and the bridge reserve are the three we have.
reserve of the river
questions
supply,
on.
right?
Okay.
Okay. Now let's go through the budgets. And again, I don't think any of us are looking to nickel and dime into these budgets with $100 here. If there's anything major that we spot, let's bring it up. So we'll start with Board of Selectmen. Is there anything anybody sees in the Board of Selectmen they'd like to talk about or perhaps adjust? Again, I reviewed all these and I didn't make any notes on this one. If I don't hear anything, we're just
No.
gonna move on, okay?
Yep.
All right, next, probate court, no discussion. Town clerk, biggest increase is election supplies,
Elections,
and
right.
we really don't have any option there, so. Let's look that one down. Registrar of voters, again, there's gonna be a lot of voting this year, so that's why these numbers are up. I don't think there's any discussion there. And at any point you have some, just
Yep.
let out a scream. Government access television, cut the whole thing. No, we would never. Now I'm getting to watch it now on Uverse. What a,
Not only us,
I
you
was
can watch.
lost for
The
over a
camera's
year.
right
You
on
can
you
watch
now.
8 other towns, right? Not only us.
No, we have our own feed now. I go right to Woodbridge and I get the feed right from Pula. So I'm back online. General administration. Again,
Much
nothing
here.
shattering there.
Yeah.
And you too, Cody. Anytime you slow
Yeah.
down.
Did you get a new quote or something for
Yeah.
insurance?
Yeah, it was a
Why
little
that
low.
went up?
Yeah, we're getting better pricing on that, so I had to increase that a little. But we also reduced the electric a little.
That I saw.
Yeah.
And the natural gas.
and gas, yeah.
Okay, information systems, balancing in there. Finance department. I don't see a problem with that. Tax collector. Okay. Assessor. A lot of these we question. Okay, Board of Assessment Appeals. Seems fine. Board of Finance. Well, we might, at some point down the road, talk about contingency, but, you know,
So that's 15 is the
right,
compression system.
Okay.
with what we've just experienced with the snow plowing situation,
Mhm.
we're gonna definitely hit that, right, Tom?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I think, you know, honestly, $215,000 for a budget this size is almost scary low. I mean, and there are people who say you should have a 4% contingency, which history has never shown that we need,
No,
but
we need that.
215,000 on 46 million is low, so for now, we'll leave it.
But what was behind the decision to say, well, we'll put it in contingency versus capital? In other words, because the decision wasn't
Was-
absolutely made
Is-
to
And
go
and
ahead?
part of it, I think, was that the commission withdrew their request but are still considering it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this, I'm learning a lot about that. All the doctors who are on the board and all the EMS really want more information as far as, they're really looking at the figures. For the past 12 months, there were 6 calls related to a cardiac issue. So they're weighing that against the technology. One of the board members is a cardiologist, and there's 2 other doctors, and they're talking about the merits and looking at new studies, which are coming, I guess. You know, the studies done a year ago are much different. So they're really weighing how much they're responsible for the town. Is this really going to make a difference? They're getting into the nitty gritty. How much will this really make a difference for these 6 calls? Does the technology really support that this could be life-saving at that point in time anyway?
Do you have a sense, Karen, of when they're going to have?
I don't
a
think
decision?
anytime soon. That's why they're very
I see.
torn whether this is. So I think that's why they said, you know, could I make a motion to withdraw it at this time, because I think they feel very comfortable in this year. They would. And is the EMS contract coming up?
It's the end of this calendar year.
Calendar, yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, as they asked in the same meeting, the
Right.
same thing that everyone asked here, isn't that part of it? And it's, like, that is not part of a normal contract. I guess it could be, but then it would affect the contract price,
Right.
because that's a piece of equipment, kind of an a la carte, a little extra. Obviously, the EMS thinks it's, but really, there's 6 calls, and the doctors are saying there's no proven, reports that could really say this would make a difference.
Because, I mean, 15,000 is 15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, as a percentage of our total budget, it's very, very low. But, I mean, other, you know, $500 here, $1,000 there has been removed from other budgets, so.
I mean, we could, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure we could absorb 15 if we had to.
Good.
So why don't we just lower that back down to 200?
Okay.
And at our March 20th meeting, we have a number for us on, because it's not gonna snow anymore.
Whoa.
So we'll have a number for
Actually, I
us.
have
He
one
has
for.
connections,
I
right?
hope to have one for next week.
Oh, just listen to Channel 8, whatever they say, forget it.
Finance
You
guy, I
know,
didn't know
12
you were
inches, and I had like 6 appointments canceled yesterday on Friday, because they were afraid of the foot of snow we were gonna get.
I will. Matter of fact, I have one for next week for the selectmen.
Yeah, give us
Yeah.
that number.
Yeah.
See, daylight savings time Sunday, it won't snow anymore.
You're right, Matthew. Make me happy.
Okay, town planning and zoning, you know, the only increase there is
We,
the town plan of conservation.
Right, we removed the part-time
Okay.
planning
Consultant.
selectmen.
zoning board of appeals, no increase, the center is a decrease, and it's all utilities and whatever. Former fire station, and not worried about that. Country Club of Woodbridge, there's no problem with that. Okay, police department. All right. Did you review, Tony, we had a lot of questions on, I see you lowered some of these.
So I reviewed some of the contractual items, holiday pay, college incentives. Some of those items were, I reviewed the calculations. And there were some corrections I had to make, so I've reviewed all those. And you'll see the reductions there.
I don't believe, in my opinion, so please speak up. I don't believe that I heard a convincing argument for the extra officer. And I think more needs to be, I think we need to have a meeting and we need a detailed explanation. I know it's based upon the officer who's stationed at Beecher, and maybe we need to have a conversation about that too. But at this point, I'm not in favor anyway of funding that. At this point, until we have an explanation or
Then there's more analysis, I think, that's
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
to really demonstrate
Yeah,
the need.
yeah.
Which
So
will-
I'd like whatever the line items are.
So there's a series of line items involved.
Right.
Including salary,
Mhm.
holiday pay, college incentive,
Mhm.
what's am I missing here? FICA, Medicare, retirement, the whole series of lines. Totals 88,000.
I mean, there's no question that they're
Yeah.
hurting there, but it's more because of injuries and guys in the academy. I think if they had a force without this other person, I just don't see the tremendous.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying no. All I'm saying is I just, in good conscience, after the meeting that night, I don't know that anybody came away feeling that they made a strong case or
No,
had us convinced. Right. So
Okay.
that's got to be
Agree with
like 88,000. I think.
88,331.
Okay. And again, more to come on that, so let's.
Okay.
Okay.
so you'll just take the 80,
Out of the line
I'll
item.
just take
all
it
the
out of the
different
various
line
line
items.
items, right. There's like 6 of them that I have to remove them from. So when we meet on the 20th, I'll have a revised information.
And again, maybe I'm probably saying something I shouldn't say, but the resource officer at Amity High School, it's a critical place. There's a lot of crazy things that go on. He's there when they come in the morning, he's there when they leave. And there's a lot of things that go on there. I just, honestly, having a police officer sitting at Beecher all day long, I don't know what he does. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and of course, it's a reaction to the horrible happenings, but I think we need to have a discussion about that too. If everybody feels that, oh no, he's gotta be there, because I just don't see the need, I've been doing this for all these years, my kids went there, and I know this happened at Sandy Hook, but there's never been any kind of a threat, and to assign an officer there full time. Everybody did it, but a lot of towns are having second thoughts about it.
I think what's gonna happen, Matthew, as they develop the state guidelines, because they are developing state guidelines, unfortunately, that has not been rolled out yet.
No.
So I think that's part of us on the Beecher Building Committee. We have to really look at that
Right.
because of what's been budgeted and take a look at that and say, hey, how much of this, where is it gonna be? You know, we're looking at a number up very high that we would like to move that number down low. I think, but as the guidelines become developed and the state really begins to take a position and begins to publish, okay, and say, this is what has to be done, I think that's gonna clarify a lot of that.
That's a really good point.
And that's the main reason that they're looking for this officer, is because of the officer that's sitting in Beecher Road Square.
But I think, again, we're not telling them how to run the department. We're just saying that at this point in time, we're questioning whether or not
Right.
another person is needed and whether the town can afford that. It's up to them to relook at how they staff and what they do and the amount of time that's spent in administration versus, the budget that they have.
And there's no question that if something happens, the officer from Beecher, the officer from Amity can leave and go to a scene.
Yes, yes.
It's just like, I believe that maybe they don't have as many guys patrolling the streets, driving around as they would. So, again, a lot more discussion. And so I think for that reason.
Okay.
And then again, I'm not saying I disagree with it, I'm just saying we just didn't get a compelling argument that night, so.
Yep.
Any other items? Let's see anything else.
No.
Okay. Fire Commission.
If I recall, the repair and maintenance on the building is really the maintenance contracts that we have.
Mhm.
It's not that we have more repairs on the building, right?
The lion's share of it is the maintenance contracts, right?
Okay.
That's the lion's share of it, yes.
Okay. And what is happening again with the gas line for them?
So we have a, we went out for a project, we went out to bid on that, and the prices, we had the documents drawn up, and the prices came in 85,000,
Oh, really? To do the conversion?
yeah.
Oh.
And on a budget of,
Yeah. 42,000 for electric
I mean,
and 15
oil.
for oil.
Yeah, so the gas is probably what, $15,000 we spend in gas? It's, the return on
No.
it is,
No. Okay, that answers my
So-
question.
But what was the payback calculated on that? You know, you sent me that, I've been going through it. I've gotta get some, do some more work on that, but it seems to me, you know, very high.
yeah, so I mean, if you save, by converting, you save, I don't know exactly how much, but 10,000 a year maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's still,
It's an
that
8-year.
would be an 8-year payback.
Right,
And that's kinda long.
it's a long.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
I would think the payback should be more in a 4 and 5 year period, 3 to
Right.
5 years,
Right.
based on the costs today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, again, I'm working on that for you, Tony, but
Right.
I'm not ready to give you back my report.
Okay.
Right, the one line I wanted to mention, and get your opinions on is the capital line item, the last line item. Are we in favor of a treadmill for 4,600 and a barcode system for 7,500?
No. No, I'm not.
Yeah, definitely, I mean, we're gonna be opening the, I need a treadmill, we're gonna have the fitness center right over there. So as far as I'm concerned, again, at this point, the barcode, it seems like, I don't know, we have a problem with them stealing stuff, you know, I mean.
That's what I'm aware
No,
of.
it's efficiency, that's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah.
And again, I would say that that's something that,
It's a nice
their,
thought.
their fundraising,
Yeah.
efforts could go towards,
Right.
if that would make their lives easier. But it's not a necessity.
All right, so why don't we remove the treadmill and the barcode system? And again, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary, but the association has a lot of money. And I think, again, the people who give money to the fire association give it with the feeling that they're gonna use it. And yet I never, unless I'm missing something, everything comes from us. I think that they should use some of that money to buy some of these things. They need it so badly, they're gonna wait until next year, after next summer for it. Buy it now, you have the money. So take those two out, Tony.
Okay.
Rehab fan, I don't know, I guess that's.
12,000, 100.
46.
The rehab
46
fan
and
for the-
7,500 for the barcode system.
Got it.
Rehab fan for firefighters at scenes. We okay with that, or?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, medical services, that's contractual. Animal control.
Control, not much there,
Building department,
We're,
reduction.
when in animal control, we're, always looking for ways to either add other capacity or add another town or save some.
Somebody should call Jim Zioli and see, maybe we want to come back, because we're doing,
Right.
everybody's saying they're doing a great job, so. And I know it's a litigation matter, but we're still paying the,
Yeah.
more coming on that.
Mm-hmm.
Building department. Let's see, we've got, Public Works.
Okay, Public Works, we have, there's a $40,000 request in trees. You'll see it's 30 in the budget. The only issue here is The UI has a new tree pruning program,
Mhm.
which may impact this, where we discussed this briefly. And so that may significantly impact this program and how much he actually would have to do on that.
So it would reduce,
So it would
Reduce the cost.
Reduce it,
reduce
okay.
the cost. We're just not sure in
How
light
much?
of, they're having some new public hearings. It's sort of a fluid thing at the moment, so.
So you added 30,000.
Right. He requested 40, we cut 40 and added 30, so essentially we reduced it by 10, but
Yeah.
that's before we had this discussion about the UI. So that, you know, that could be something you either
Okay.
take, you know, if you wanna take a chance on and
Okay.
fund some other time, or you can put it and keep it in. Sort of the discussion. We can,
It's in the rentals line.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
5,
Because we'd have a company, rentals line is essentially, when we have, outside contractors come in and do work. That's what that line is.
What's the timing of the UI program?
I'm not entirely clear.
It's
They
not
said
clear,
they would start a pilot program in Woodbridge,
July.
probably in July. There's a public hearing actually tomorrow night in Hamden to discuss it more. The public hearing is Pura, to review again what the proposal is. I think there was a lot of controversy about the original plan. So it's unclear if there will be changes. It sounded like when they came to the Board of Selectmen, not likely that there will be major changes,
Right,
but they would be starting here according to their plan in July, June or July, I think they said.
that's correct.
And they call it a pilot program, so I don't know how far.
Like how much of they're not gonna do,
Okay.
actually do the whole town,
Right,
you know,
Okay.
so,
unclear.
So it sounds like we need to leave it, probably.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
okay.
All right, waste management. Remediation, no problem. Building maintenance, nothing there. Human services, no problem with that. Recreation, I don't have a problem with
Pool and gym, you mean?
that. No, recreation. The one before pool and gym.
Oh, sorry, I must have skipped that page. Yep, sorry.
You got something, Tom?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about the human services work. Depends a lot on, the public works project.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shifting, a lot of moving, so
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure of the timing on that. But I would think it should be in next year, by the time next year's budget's complete, but.
Okay.
Just,
I mean, the cost for them to take over that spot.
Right.
space.
yeah.
Okay. Pool and gym, what's in there? Parks Department. Country Club Pool.
So this is an ad of $128,000. There's a revenue associated with it in the revenue section
Okay.
of 160.
Okay.
So it's actually a grand scheme of
So this has
things.
been, has this
a
been
decrease.
approved, voted on, et cetera? Because I know there was a lot of discussion about
It
it.
was approved, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we've got our pool director. so-
Mhm.
okay.
Yep,
And was this developed by the pool director?
correct.
Or- okay.
John and Anthony and myself,
Okay,
the three of us put it together.
But under the control of the recreation department.
Correct.
okay, good.
Right.
Good, okay.
Thomas Darling House, Library, Conservation Commission, Economic Development, Wetlands, Employee Fringe Benefits. Okay.
So, we have, we're still doing work on the, health. Retirement numbers came in and they were, right where we had budgeted, so there's no further change there. Of course, FICA and Medicare are changed based on, I have to reduce those from the police action.
Mm-hmm.
And, healthcare, we're still working on, there was a reduction, Between the time the request went out and the selectmen reviewed their budget, I hope to have another reduction by your 20th, March 20th meeting. And I'll have these recommendations laid out for you in advance of the meeting.
At our last investment committee meeting, the gentleman from FIA, we had a discussion about towns and funding OPEB and et cetera. And we and Beecher and Amity are way ahead of the curve as far as funding. A lot of towns haven't even started. And their liability is far greater than ours. The reason I bring this up, I think we should cut that. And I think we've got a tremendous buildup. We've had very good success with our investments. It's not an issue, so I'd like to cut it at least 25, if not 50. And it's not a harm to the town. It's we're still funding it, and I don't know if anybody has any feelings on that.
I'd go for 50.
That's not a big problem, right?
No.
Okay, make it 350.
Okay.
I know, as long as I'm on that subject, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a straight answer from Amity, but Monday night we have a meeting, and supposedly they were gonna eliminate OPEB altogether and use that money, because they have a terrible problem with their self-funded health insurance. Terrible. And they were gonna take that money and put it in there to offset that, and now I'm hearing they're gonna do that, plus they're gonna keep OPEB, so we're gonna have a little discussion Monday night, because I know Orange is up in arms. They're adding stuff to this budget. Someone said that they might add $100,000 to ARA, and I said that's not going to happen. It's not going to pass. We're not going to be able to support that. Because if they add $100,000, that means they're going to add more to Bethany's, and Bethany's already getting clobbered.
Yeah.
Orange, I know, is screaming about their budget, so the new superintendent will be there Monday night, and I'm going to make it clear that if they want the support of the towns, lessons learned, you don't want the towns not supporting your budget, because that's going to cause problems. So I'll let you know. I honestly don't have an answer. I talked to Jack Levine, but he's not in favor of it, but the board, for whatever reason, is talking about
He's not in favor of
funding OPEB.
funding OPEB, right?
He said we don't need to, same argument I just gave.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a good amount of money in there, and their main concern now is to
Because
get
there's
that.
such a problem in their self-funded health.
Their
plan.
self-funded
Yeah.
health plan, they've got to get the money in there to absorb claims, so I'll let you know. I'm gonna get more information about where they're coming up with. But if they're gonna add I'm gonna tell you right now, they're gonna add $100,000 to our budget. I'm gonna say that, I don't think I'd vote for that, so, as a member of the finance committee. So, but I'll let you know on the 20th how we make out.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so we knocked that down to 350, and again, the health insurance, hopefully.
Yep. Hopefully
Might
we'll
come out
have
a
some
little
further
better.
reductions, yep.
Okay. All right, debt service.
So debt service, we're still trying to figure when exactly the facility will be completed and when the debt, trying to structure the debt so that the public works facility interest payment is properly in there. I'm not sure at this point yet if we can remove that or not.
But you could use bands instead of
You
bonds.
could. One other
You
option.
have that option regardless,
Correct.
and they're a lot lower than bonds.
Yeah, bands interest is lower than bonds. You risk that interest rates can go up. It's a risk with bands. I'm not sure if that's a real risk, but it
Yeah.
is. And you're paying more in interest.
Yeah, but I'm just talking for the
Short-term
short
gain.
term, just for the short term.
Yeah, that's certainly an option.
Okay. Well, you're looking into that.
Yep.
Then we can talk about that.
Mhm.
Can I ask about the Economic Development Commission, because I see that the consultant that they asked for was removed by the Board of Selectmen. Is there another way to provide those services to them, to help them?
That's
Is
why
that
we
the
removed
goal?
it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Alright.
assistant administrative
Yes.
officer whom you met, will
Yes.
be doing website work and communications in
great.
addition to other things, so we think that she'll be able to handle it.
Okay, I think it's just important to make that point. It's not that
Right.
there's not support for
Right,
it, we
correct.
have another
Correct.
option.
That's correct,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Woodbridge Board of Ed, again, let me meet with Dr. Stella and voice my concerns and et cetera. The only thing I can tell you is, when I was over there, if you haven't been there, you've heard about what a wonderful technology program they have, believe it. You'll be awed by their computers. It's just-
Yeah, but that's the future, that
It
is,
is.
it's the present,
Absolutely.
actually, it's not just the
You gotta-
future.
But
It's
I
You gotta
think-
keep with it.
It is,
Yeah.
it
Really
is,
do.
it is beyond though. I mean, you'll be.
No, it's not beyond.
Yeah.
It is where it's gotta be and it's gotta keep
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
Otherwise you
agree.
get behind and then we're at the,
That's
we're at
part
the
of-
point, then we're at the
part of
point
it.
that we were 10 years ago when we really got on the bandwagon and let's just keep up with it. I mean, to
Right.
me, it's like the roads.
Yeah.
You know, you just gotta keep with it.
Mhm.
You have to see the technology that we have to work with today. And, you know, it's tough for my generation. You know, I have to really work very hard to keep up with a lot of the younger people. I mean, you know, but we invest so much money in technology just to drive our business. So, you know, if we're gonna stay ahead, okay, that's when we have to train them. That's when we have to train them.
I'm not saying we eliminate it. I'm just saying, take a look at it. I think we can cut it a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna be there Friday.
And he can use some of his surplus. to
I'm gonna be
fund the
reading
difference.
Friday too.
Okay.
I'll go.
But that's gonna be part of the discussion I'm gonna have, so.
Well, or, you know, whatever is there goes to fund the technology
Yeah.
piece, as opposed to
Right.
other
Yeah.
projects that they might
Right.
want, that's all.
And I'm sure they're gonna stay in touch with us. So it's a
Oh,
two-part
yeah.
thing. There's a surplus.
Yes,
Part one is, what do you wanna fund with it? And that was my point. Let them fund, we'll cut the technology and let them fund it with their surplus.
right,
And then what else you wanna fund? And part two is, the areas of excess that are causing this 140, have you reflected those in your 14-15 budget?
Right.
Or, you know,
I think
Which
that
we can
they,
talk
that
about.
Dr. Stoll is very willing to use
Oh,
this
yeah.
to bring down
Oh,
his
yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
It's just a matter
Yeah.
of where, you know, if you have a preference of where you want that
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I think it's been made clear that it's not gonna be to fund other projects,
Right.
that it's gonna be to reduce the budget.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna try and meet with him tomorrow. And he wants to meet, I gotta see if I can free myself up tomorrow.
You have clients or something?
Yeah, sure. All the people who canceled Monday because of the snowstorm. Amity, I will report back to you on the 20th, but I can
Yeah.
tell you that, the beating of the drums is not good. So I'm gonna, I'll get more answers, like I said. I talked to Mike Nast, who's now gone, and, there's disagreement, believe me, between administration and the board. And so I'll get a feel for that and, report back to you. Transfers from general fund,
That's capital,
which
right?
we've already done.
Mhm.
So, all right, so there's still some areas, and again, we have more time. on this.
We have revenue too.
That's a start. Okay, revenue,
It's right before the capital plan.
Yep.
okay.
The first section is the property tax revenue. That's pretty consistent to where we think we'll be
Mhm.
next year. The state grants is the second section. Just a note about that. First is the town road aid is 241, 267. It's like 2/3 of the way down the
Mhm.
list.
Yeah.
That was 241 this year, only we budgeted this year 120. So while that's an increase of $120,000 to us, from the state's perspective, it's flat
Got it.
because we realized a $120,000 surplus this year that we didn't budget for. So that's a plus for us.
Mhm.
There's this municipal aid adjustment, $28,000, which is usually, I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, but it usually has to do with other grants that were cut and other towns that were impacted. So I'm not quite sure where that's gonna come out, but that's in there also.
Mhm.
And the rest of them are some small cuts to some of the pilot grants. Department charges, there's an increase in conveyance taxes, which we've seen, there are some increases there in some of the fees, so that we've seen corresponding increase in revenue there. Building permits, that we increased just a little to reflect sort of where we have been recently. and, where we think we'll be next year. And then you'll see pool fees, 160. So
Is that-
ba-
Is that based on increasing the,
so the
membership
increase,
cost?
right, the fees were increased 15%,
okay,
and that figure, if you take 15%
yeah,
and use last year's numbers in terms of people that came, and it's like 165. So that's a little conservative. And also, it doesn't include, there's gonna be some income for rentals of lockers, and some folks come and they wanna have a guest revenue, there's some few $1,000s there. So it could be as high as 170, could be. So we'll see how it comes out the first year, but we were comfortable with 160 as a figure.
So it's a little bit under what the capital outlay and the other expenses are, correct?
The other expenses are, the department budget's 127,
Right,
and there's no capital outlay at the moment for a pool.
okay, okay,
So currently it's,
I'm sorry, it was the non-salary line, so I'm mistaken.
okay,
Yep,
so
got
it's,
it.
so it's currently
Okay,
a
so
difference of, you know,
Where's
30,000, yeah.
right.
Where's
Okay.
the offset for the country club, Tom?
There's also some, money in, benefits too, about 5,000, so it's about
Okay.
25,000.
Okay,
I'm sorry, what's that?
Where's the revenue for the country club? Then you said there's a.
For the Woodbridge Country Club,
Yeah.
you mean? So there's, it's right above it, there's nothing in there, it's zero.
Oh,
okay.
Because we're paying Casper now,
And the fees go to
the
Casper.
fees go to
He gets the
Casper.
fees.
Now, it's possible we get some revenue if we're over eight, was
800.
it 850,
I
825?
think it's 850. Maybe we reduce it to 825.
825, yeah.
Gross valve fees over 800 and something, we split with Joe Casper.
Right, we split 50/50.
Mhm.
So there's a possibility of revenue there. We didn't put it here. Yes.
What provisions have we made for any capital expenditures then to support the pool?
Are some expenditures being done in this budget here, minor, they're not really that major. We're also putting together a capital plan. We don't have any capital expenditures reported for this next budget year, but after that, we're putting together a 6-year plan for the years, outlying years. So,
Well,
There's
the problem with that, Tony, is, as you know, in the past,
and
it's the unforeseen
I understand,
things, it's the $40,000 pump that breaks.
right, I understand,
And that takes your income and
right,
throws it out the window.
right,
We're dealing with equipment. Everything that's been replaced even was not new, it was all used equipment.
the heater was,
And
yeah,
the pumps were.
right,
They were all used equipment. All I'm saying is we're dealing with equipment that's got a lot of years on it.
that's correct.
And for us to not have some sort of reserve for that, you know,
You're right,
it might be,
there is no capital reserve at the
you know,
moment for that.
we might just be being a little, you know, we're not being prudent, I don't think, to do that. So I think we have to, if we're gonna open it and we wanna run it, then we have to, you know, build in contingencies based on the age of all that equipment in there, and that we could find ourselves, you know, having to replace some equipment during the year.
Suppose it's possible.
I mean, I think the question is whether we wanna take that risk this year or not.
Whether we wanna take the risk, we need to open the pool this year?
No, the risk of not having to make an investment in terms of capital.
What I'm saying, that may not be a choice.
Well, that's true. If
May
it's
not
an
be a choice.
emergency, that's an emergency.
It may not be a choice. If everything were new and we had, you know, the problem is everything is old and and we have, over the last 3 years, we've had things fail.
So what
That's
would
all.
make you feel comfortable in terms of an amount?
I could sort of what I can do is get an idea of the things that may be likely to fail and get that information for you.
And, you know, we should have something, you know,
And you
25,000
can-
something.
Make a decision at that point. For the next meeting, I can get a little summary of some of the major capital items that could cause problems, and we can review it then.
I mean,
That'd be helpful.
and we always fall back, well, we have the contingency fund, fine. I mean, I don't mind, that's probably where it's gonna come from, but the fact of the matter
You
is,
should at least know what those risks are.
we should know what the risks are.
Yep, I agree, yeah.
So the Board of Selectmen are moving forward with something on the country club, right? As far as a plan?
A plan on the country club,
Yeah.
well, we're definitely talking about it, we had another meeting, and, yes.
I truly believe it will come out positive. Somehow, some way, it's gonna come out as a positive. First of all, we have buy it. Let's take that off the table. But I really believe there are ways of doing it that are gonna make it positive. Unfortunately, there's just so many ideas and opinions that your head starts to spin. But, I do believe it's gonna end up with a positive result, so.
I agree with you. We just have
I
to,
really
we
do.
have to get there.
No, I
We have to
really do.
find-
There's a lot of things I worry about. I'm not worried about it. I know that's gonna come out. Again, there's a whole lot of opinions out there, but I really believe that if we can, as a town, come together on it, we can make it a plus.
I think it's a very good point to make, is that everybody was invited to express their opinion
Right.
on more than one occasion.
Absolutely.
So,
Maybe
everybody,
they have.
But the Board of Selectmen, has the ultimate say in that, and I know they're working on it, so. Okay, that's revenue. Anything else, Tony? There's a
Nope,
couple of
that's it.
add-ons we gotta, at some point, we gotta deal with, right?
Couple of possible adds, there's three. There's a bridge issue that we discussed. The second is we have a risk, as you'll probably remember, those of you who were on the board, we were a part of a workers' compensation risk pool. So,
Is that
rear end's ugly heading.
come back
It
to bite
is.
us again?
Oh,
as a
my
matter
God.
of fact, and what the group has decided to do, so the pool's in runoff, which means that it's no longer active, but the existing claims are in runoff, which means their workers' compensation claims could be 30-year claims. There are some really long, really difficult claims in that pool that the pool is dealing with. So what the group has decided to do is to sell that risk profile, that whole risk profile, all the claims and all that, to a third party, and remove that from our responsibility. So that contribution for us is about $50,000. We have actually no choice in the matter because it was voted on by all the towns that were involved.
So does
So
that,
we,
is
that's
that it?
it, they'll
That's
pay
it.
someone to take on that risk,
Correct.
and we're.
So what they're betting on is what they're paying and what they think the risk will be, there's a profit. So
But 50,000 is it.
that's it, then it's done. Then we have no more responsibilities or liabilities. So that's two. And the third one is a possible heart hypertension issue.
We have another one? How do I get on this?
Go to the police academy.
How do I qualify for
For
this?
those of you who don't know.
How do I qualify for a program that I
For those of you who
paid
don't
a
know,
lot of money
You can get
and
a
just
heart,
go back to work the
you
next
can
day?
get a heart and hypertension settlement and still work.
I mean, this is like, only in America
Yeah, only
to get this.
That's a
Those
state,
are- those
is
are
a
the
state
three, yeah.
statute? Is it,
I believe the
State mandate?
statute has been changed.
It's been changed, right?
But some officers are still
Grandfathered.
grandfathered.
Grandfathered in, correct. The presumption went from, it has to do with the presumption, right?
I think so, I don't recall the
Yeah.
details, but I know there was it's more restrictive now, but some people are still into the old program.
How stringent are the medical requirements and testing that, to qualify for that?
For a heart and hypertension claim?
And what,
Now, if you're hired after a certain date,
No.
there-
No, this
No.
particular one.
right now?
if this
If
one
this
that,
particular one happens,
uh-huh,
I mean, if you're suffering from heart and hypertension, we had
you
this
just have to
discussion.
prove,
They approved two of them in the past several
you
years.
just have to prove that there's actually an issue, not where it came from or how it happened. If you're hired before that date. After the date,
I
you
guess
have to prove that it was.
they must have a
result of-
cardiologist or somebody
Yeah,
saying, oh
there's a
yeah,
process.
yeah, they definitely have heart issues and.
Yeah, there's a process. It goes, it's a,
I have heart
But they're
issues.
still
I never-
healthy enough
never
to
was on
work,
these
that's-
offices.
Sorry.
they're still healthy enough.
Oh yeah, they continue to work and they get a settlement.
Settlements, as I recall, were pretty large.
50 grand.
Yeah, that's what I have in the budget.
Is that supposed to cover medical expenses?
No, damages, it's a damage
It's a
thing.
damage.
It's not even taxable.
All right,
That's the old, I mean, there's an awful lot of old stuff out there that hopefully is being changed, but, you know, lifetime medical after you retire.
any hypertension claims
Yeah.
for serving on the Board of Finance?
Right, we should have, right, we have nothing.
It's related to your salary, so.
That's right, that's right.
You're right.
You should get paid to do the
So
job.
that means it's zero.
Yes, exactly. They could triple your salary.
Exactly right.
So the adjustments you made thus far is $322,431,
Okay.
which brings the increase, the mill rate 35.18, increase 3.05.
Yeah, we're close. And I know Board of Ed, we're gonna gain some on that. Because I'm sure we're gonna agree that whatever the surplus is gonna somehow reduce next year's budget, next year's capital. You're gonna buy $50,000 worth of computers and we'll only fund 85 or 75 or whatever. So we'll come to an agreement on that. I know he's not gonna go out, as they did years ago, on a spending spree just to get rid of the money, so. Which is the best part of working with the Board of Ed now, is that we're all on the same page.
Mhm.
And as Dr. Stoll always reminds us, transparency is his most important, and he does, he keeps us posted, which
Trust.
makes our job much
All
easier,
based
so.
on trust.
I'm gonna try Tony, I'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
looking
I
good.
told him just to
Yeah.
sit tight and I'll let him know.
So that we'll talk to you on the 20th. That's like 2 weeks from Thursday.
Mhm.
By then we'll have a lot of these.
Now, all this information, right?
Okay?
Well, it's not too bad for one night.
No. I mean, again, I'm sure people aren't gonna be happy, but you know what, it's not that, I don't think we question the need, it's a question of, we question, can we afford it at this point with all this going on, so. I don't think we cut out anything that affects public safety or whatever, it's just things that there are alternatives for, so. Anything else? Okay, see you on the 20th.
Okay, thanks.
Very good.